Right guys, so we are going to put steps in place to sort out your credit file by the end of this video. Let's go. Right, so firstly, I'm going to need you to go and download your credit file if you haven't already done so. You can go onto ClearScore or Credit Experian. You can go onto Equifax as well. I have accounts with those three providers. Go there, download your credit file and then come right back. Right, so now that you've done that and you have your credit file in hand, what we then need to do is click on the link in the description box below. You'll have a free financial plan. Download that, and that is going to help us work through our next steps to get put in place a really good, robust and achievable and realistic plan to move forward with your credit file. Right, so now that we've got both of those things, because we're going to need both of those things so that we can then sort of see what your spending habits are versus your financial commitments. Also, we're going to need to download and have to hand all of your bank statements as well. So now let's go over to the computer, and what we're going to do is just open up that financial plan that I told you to download, and we're going to go through those. Okay guys, so let's go. So you'll see monthly tabs within here, and you'll also see an overall tab as well. So that one is going to let you put in all of your monthly expenses, all the regular expenses that you have, like your rent, mortgage or energy bill payments, phone bills, stuff like that. You can pop all of that on your outgoings column, and you can also put in there as well your incoming. So if you put your wages in on all the income that you're going to get in, and at the bottom it's going to tell you a total amount for your monthly expenses and your monthly income, and then it's also going to tell you the difference between the two. So once you've got that and you can understand that and build a picture of yourself, you can see what all of your priority bills are going to be, and that's going to be things like number one, paying your mortgage or your rent, because obviously we as humans need a place to stay and a place to live, so we need shelter. So that's going to be a priority payment, and then you're going to go further down the list and prioritize those payments down. So once we've got all of those things listed, you can also see a load of tabs that will go into each monthly tab for the year. Those individual monthly tabs or sheets, you can open those up, and that will give you 4 weeks worth of incoming and outgoing. So it will tell you your opening balance and your closing balance, and what you can actually do with that is have a little bit of a play around and go through your bank statement, put down all of your expenses on whatever date they come within that month. So once you've got an overview of that, you can then see how that affects your income, so you can have a tweak and play with that as well, and you can see if you've got dates where where certain bills clash and you might not have enough of an income figure on that for that week which covers that outgoing balance. You can have a tweak and have a play around to see what day would suit you best. So that is really valuable, because you can then go to your creditors or the people that you need to pay and say to them, can I change the date of when I pay this bill please? Instead of paying it on the 1st, can I pay that bill on the 12th? If that gives you a little bit of wiggle room so that you can make sure you can get something going into your account to pay that bill, and see how that will affect your incomings and outgoing. But guys, please know, if you have gotten to a point where changing the payment date is not going to help, please contact the Citizens Advice, contact a financial advisor to get more information, because obviously this is me telling you this from my experience, and if you need more help and guidance, they will be able to tell you step by step what else to do if you are further along the line with that. So guys, once you've sorted out your payment dates and maybe agreed in a reduced payment plan with some of your creditors or people that you need to pay with your bill payers, after that, what you're going to need to do is just stick to that. If you think, right, I'm going to buy a certain product on a certain day, you can put the amount, it will show you how it's going to affect your payments and your account balance moving forward from that point, including all of those other priority bills that you've popped in. So it's a really good tool. You can mess about with that. Guys, I'm afraid you're going to have to be going into that much detail when you're trying to fix your credit. This is what I did, and this is what I lived by. So if I wanted to buy, for example, I needed to buy something for the kids, if I popped it in there on a certain date, I could see how that outgoing payment would affect my bills moving forward and whether I could afford it or not. So I could make that informed choice whether to buy it then or whether to wait. So yeah, that's the next step. steps. Just make sure that all of your automatic payments and things that are coming out on those agreed dates and that agreed plan, that you stick to it. It is that boring, I'm afraid. It's going to be a waiting game. So once you've done that, that should help and repair your credit file as well. So late payments are really going to have a real negative effect on your credit file, as I'm sure you will know. So it is a long game that you're playing. You're going to make sure that you hit those payments and they are coming out on a certain date that you can stick to, and they're all coming out, flowing out of your account. So the next step is to keep things like any credit balances as low as possible. Try to utilise around 30% of that, and make sure that you keep it to that. What you can do as well, and I've spoke about this in my previous video on trying to fix your credit file, and this is what I did. You've maxed out your credit card, for example, and you want to start to reduce that. What I would do is pay in full and then spend up to 90, pay in full again on the next payday, and then pay up to 80, and then you should slowly but surely, in staged amounts that you are comfortable with, bring that down and bring it down to that 30%. That's something that I did, and that helped me, so it wasn't so much of a shock. I've gone from using 100% to then just using 30%. So if you do that in staged amounts, that really does help. If you stick to utilising about 30% of the credit available to you, that's going to show again to people that are looking on your potential lenders, that are looking on your file, that you are managing your money well. Avoid going for a lot of credit all at one go. That again is a red flag to a lender. They'll see that as maybe you're not managing your money as well as you could do, or that you're getting desperate, for example. So try to reduce any hard searches or any searches on your credit file as much as you can. So only go for credit that you need and at times that you can afford, and that to leave a footprint on your credit file. Keep those hard and soft searches as low as possible. Don't go for too much credit all at one time. And now that you have your credit file downloaded, I'm really going to need you to actually keep checking your credit file. Keep checking that so that you know if anything goes back on there, you can query that. It might be a mistake, or it might be something that shouldn't be on your file. You can query it straight away and get it removed if it is a mistake. It just helps you know what is on there, and it keeps you more in touch with your finances, and you can make avertive action as soon as possible, and if there's anything that crops up on there that shouldn't be. So if you do all of these steps, and it is going to take time, guys, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, then slowly but surely all of these steps will go towards you building a really good and a lot better credit file than what you had before. So it is a long game. It will take a while, but once you've started to do that and put these steps in place, you will start to build a good credit history. And once you build a good credit history, then you can go on to get the best rates from the lenders out there as possible, and it's going to save you money in the long run. So what are your feelings towards this? Have you got any tips and tricks that you've used that's helped you boost your credit? If you pop those in the comments below, that is great. We can all learn and share here and build together. And also please like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It just helps the video get pushed out to more people so that I can hopefully help more people in the long run. And if you have already made those steps and started to sort out your credit file already, you might be wanting to go on to the next stage, which might be to make your money work for you now that you've worked hard to get yourself into that really good position with your credit. So you might want to do that through property investing. And guys, just remember, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a mortgage advisor. This is just based off my experience that I'm trying to pass on to you guys. My mortgage broker's details will be in the description box below. Are you looking to get bridging or buy-to-let mortgages or any other type of funding, and you're a bit worried that your credit score may hold you back like mine did? Well, don't worry. Improving your credit score is a lot easier than you think. Here are 6+ tips and tricks that I used, and that got me from a really poor credit Experian rating all the way to 999, the highest of the green credit ratings that you can get. This in turn helped me kickstart my property journey. It gave me access to the best bridging, buy-to-let and bridge-to-let funding on the market. And you're gonna wanna watch till the end because I've actually got a really good bonus tip for you. So first things first, my first tip is that you're gonna want to download your credit file. Now I know this sounds obvious, but if you're anything like me, this is something that I was avoiding for a long time. So basically you need to do your research. Research. You need to know what the problem is, face it head on, come up with ways and solutions to get around it and make it better. So as I said, you really need to just actually get your credit file report, print that out, have it in front of you, sit down with a highlighter and go through everything. Now, I have multiple accounts with various credit scoring agencies. I've got, obviously in the UK, we have Equifax and we have Experian. So I've got my Experian report, and I also use ClearScore. Now, what I like about ClearScore is that it's really, really clear, it's really concise, and it's really user-friendly. In the graphics, it just looks really nice and inviting. And it literally really does go into detail. So it bogs everything down, even to the payment that you've made late in the last month or so, and you can see exactly where you've gone wrong. It's got nice colourful graphs and graphics on there, so you can see visually where you've gone wrong, what payments you've missed, if you have missed any payments, and also if there's anything that you feel that isn't right, you can also see that straight away on there, and then you can give them a call or give the agency or the company a call and just dispute any inaccurate information with them. You can get a real nice feel for what you can improve, what you can do right, and basically from that you can then build a plan of improvement to make yourself then boost your credit file just from looking at it. So like I said, the first tip is pretty obvious, but as I said, face it head on. It is something that I avoided for a long time because I just didn't want to face and see what was on there. But as soon as I did, I could see where I've gone wrong, what I needed to do to improve that. And it might also not be as bad as you think. Sometimes you think that it's all gloom and doom and you think it's the worst thing ever, but when you actually get that credit report in front of you, you can see straight away at a glance what I need to do to make it better. It might be something that you need to dispute, there might be wrong information on your credit report, it might be the fact that you've made a late payment within the last 3 months, there could be anything on there, but when you see that in front of you, you can see what you need to do to rectify that. So yeah, I literally live by that. I have my Experian and my ClearScore app on my phone. I can regularly check it on a regular basis to see and just keep on track and see how everything is. And also on Experian, they've got a great tool it's a projection tool, so it can you can see where you are now, and it gives you tips and tricks on what you can do to improve, and then where you're going to be in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 2 years or whatever, 3 years, so you can have a gradual plan, and that really motivates you to keep on going. And it's the same with ClearScore as well. You can see everything tracked out on a nice, lovely, clean visuals. If something for me, that helps motivate me to keep going, and it helps motivate me to keep putting the work in and see that graph climb. And my next tip, and this again is going to be a pretty obvious one, it is to pay your bills on time. Obvious, I know. If you've done the first step and you've downloaded your credit report and you've gone through it and you've highlighted everything and things that you can do to improve, the people that you need to speak to dispute, and also payments, that then you'll also as well see payments, and you can see payment pattern of things that if you have missed payments, you can see when they've been missed, and then also you can make a plan in the future to not miss those payments. I had a spreadsheet for each year, and obviously the different tabs are broken up then into each month. So I had a main tab which had all of my incomings and outgoings on there, and then I had 12 other tabs which represented each month. And now within those tabs, I then had it was a mini cash flow chart basically. So I had money coming in, and I knew what expenses I had from the front sheet, and I knew when they were going to come out. I then had 4 sort of mini cash flow charts where it had regular payments that I knew I was going to be making, the balance at the top, obviously my income had gone in, and then I could literally, that was all totted up, and then I had a closing balance for each week, and I had 4 of those on each tab, and then that built up my yearly tabs as well. So from there I could just input, so for example if I wanted to buy a pair of trainers, I could put trainers, I don't know, £120 or however much their trainers cost, and then that would then show me, right, if I spend that now, my money's going to go down by this much. Oh, I might not be able to cover the bill that's coming in on that week. So I could track and make tweaks on that spreadsheet, and that would correlate to real life. So, but yeah, and what I can do as well is add a quick link in the description box, and I can put a mock-up of that Excel spreadsheet and that tool, because that really helped me sort of manage my finances throughout the month. Right, and now tip 3, this is reducing your credit utilisation. So what I mean by that is you need to look at what credit you've got on any of your credit account. For example, if you have a credit card and that credit card has £1,000 limit, and you're using £500 at that time. So then you know your credit utilisation is 50%, for example. If you look at that and have a look at your credit card, your credit utilisation across all of your credit accounts that you have outstanding or money on them, just have a look at that. And then what you can do is try to reduce that down. And what I tried to do was keep it within 30%. I had another 70% free on that credit card utilisation for that credit account. So what that then shows, that just shows that you are managing your credit utilisation on your credit accounts. So when, like I say, when you do go for new funding, once your credit rating has balanced out, people can see, right, well, she's got £1,000 limit, but she's only using 30% of that. So that just shows that you are managing your credit utilisation adequately and managing it sufficiently. So yeah, I know it can be hard, and what I did, because obviously I did have high credit utilisations on one particular credit card, so what I would then do was I would, as soon as my paycheck came in, I'd pay that, I'd focus on that one credit card and I'd pay it all off. And then I would use it as much as I was before, but then I tried to cut down the utilisation of that credit card, and then just each time. So it wasn't such a big shock, reduced it from it being near the maximum and then way down to 30%, so that it wasn't such a big shock. What I'd do is pay it off each month and then try and reduce it. So I'd use, say if I was using 100% of that, I'd pay it off and then use up to 80% and then pay it off again and then use up to 70% and keep going like that in small chunks until I got it back down to a manageable amount. So it was that 30% utilisation, but it was done gradually over time, so it wasn't such a big shock to me. And tip number 4 is to have a wide range and different types of credits available to you. So what I mean by this is, it could be something as simple as showing that you can manage, you've got a small credit card and you've also got a small overdraft. So those are 2 different types of credit that you've got, and if you can show that you're managing those correctly, that is going to in turn boost your credit file, because then any future funders can see that you are managing different types of credit and you're managing those different types of credits well. My next tip, this tip again sort of touched on that before, it is to check your credit record as regularly as you can. So as I said, I have my apps on my phone, so I can just quickly scroll through and have a look if I get a notification or anything like that. You can as well. But also checking it on a regular basis, it means that you're picking up any discrepancies that may occur and you're picking those up fast. You can actually contact the company that's newly appeared on there straight away and sort that out. So if there are any mistakes or anything that's gone there, or if there's any fraudulent things that might be happening, you are the first to know, and you can see that and you can rectify that and sort that out with the company straight away. So yeah, make sure you check your credit report, whichever one you want to choose, check those on a regular basis. And my next tip would be to be very careful and very selective with what types of credit you are opening. Try to reduce them and do not open a load of credit accounts all in one go, because all that says to lenders is that, oh, this person might not be as stable as they are making out they are, because they're actually opening a load of credit accounts at one time. So that is like warning flags to lenders. So you'll only go for credit if you have to. If you're trying to build, don't try to open too many new credit accounts at one time. Just try and keep that amount down. And also just be careful to what you are signing up for as well. Things like, I know I used to be quite bad for this, if you're shopping, I know there's that Klarna app that you can get, there's things like that, and that is actually a form of credit where it says it breaks it up into 3 or something, and it gives you the option of going for that. Just be careful to stay away from things like that. I know store cards are quite bad as well. That would be something that people just sort of, when you're at the till, they would offer it to you. Be careful what you're signing up to, make sure you know what they are and it's not a form of credit, and just check with everything. Just check. I always ask, is this going to affect my credit rating? Is this going on my credit rating? How is this going to affect my credit rating? And my next tip, this is my bonus tip as well, is to try as much as you can, try to keep old accounts open. Now be careful with this. What I mean by this is you can pay things off and make sure that there's a zero balance on there, but if the longer you have a credit account open, the more favourable you are when lenders look on your actual credit report. And that actually, over on your history, it shows that you've got these credit accounts that are still open, but you've paid them off. So in my head, they're closed without being closed, if you see what I mean. So yeah, as much as possible, try to keep old accounts open but paid off so that there's nothing on there. If you want to pay them off, but keep them open, and then it just shows to, again, it shows to lenders who are looking on your credit file, oh, they've got that account open, they've got credit here that they could utilise, but on it is zero. Just be really, really aware, try to keep those on there, and it makes you more favourable when lenders look on your credit report. Because it basically shows that you've got mature accounts with a positive payment history, because you've actually paid them all off, but you've still got that credit card or that credit account that you could utilise. So it maintains a long sort of credit history. That is what they're looking at, and as I said, the more mature accounts, it kind of gives them a bit more reassurance that you are managing your credit utilisation well, and it gives you a really, really positive credit history that's maintained and that's mature and that's lasting even till now. Yeah, so what are your feelings on this? If you want to comment down below, we'll start a conversation down there. Now, some of these things, my credit score used to really, really scare me, but as I said, I've implemented these tips and these have helped my credit score skyrocket, and now I am able to start investing because I've got access to some of the best sort of rates, I say that, the best rates on the market. So I've got access to that now, which has helped kickstart my property journey. But yeah, thank you ever so much for watching. I'm going to be there'll be more tips and tricks on boosting your credit score so that you can invest and go down and get access to bridging and all those types of funding. Please like, comment and subscribe, and watch this video next for more property investing tips. And guys, you might be sat there thinking, well, that's all well and good, Sabrina. I've actually got a project now, and I've got issues and problems that I need to overcome on my actual project. Well, watch this video next, and you can see in real time the issues and constraints that I've had on my project, on my latest renovation project. Maximise your remortgage valuation through these property investing tips and strategies. So in these uncertain times, valuers are being more and more cautious and more conservative, shall we say, with their reports. And these can cause you to have a down valuation, which can then affect your property deal and cause that to even fall through, which is what's happened to me recently. If this happened, it can be really detrimental to your progression on your property journey, especially this year, and it can even stop you dead tracks before you've even begun. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some insights that can help prevent and mitigate against you getting a down valuation, and to help stop your property deals from falling through as well. And stay tuned till the end, because I'm going to be giving you some invaluable tips on how to increase and maximise and get the highest possible valuation price you can. But first, let's explore what a remortgage is versus a standard mortgage when it comes to property investing. So a remortgage essentially means it's when you onto a new mortgage loan when your old mortgage terms are ending, and if you still intend to either live or keep the property and not sell it on. So when we're essentially remortgaging as an investor, that means that we've either bought a property where we are adding value either via a bridge loan if it was unmortgageable in the first place, and then we are literally wanting to pull that value out as profit and move on to either a buy to let or onto a new mortgage term and pull that value out from the deal. And in order to do this, a valuation or an assessment of the value of the property that you are going to be leveraging against needs to be made so that the lender can make sure and can ensure that is a secure investment for them, and also for yourself, you know that you are pulling out as much money as you're expecting to. And I do have more videos on the bridge loan, bridge to lets and things like that. I've got an actual entire playlist if you want to check that out. So do you have to get your house valued in order to get a remortgage? Yes, you do, because the lender will want to ensure that they are actually making a good investment themselves, and that the property is actually worth as much as you say it is, and you've done the work that you've said you're going to, in the case of if you're an investor and you're adding value. And it's a safe bet for you as well, so that you know that your property is worth as much as you think it is. So how to get a valuation for a remortgage. Now, this might be part of the process of the actual remortgage itself. The lender will appoint a a valuer to go round, and then you might have to pay for that, or you never know, you might be one of the lucky ones that gets it as a free incentive for you to go with that certain lender. In the remortgage processes that I've gone through, I've had to pay for them. The lender will normally appoint a chartered surveyor that will actually come out, and they should come out to you and actually have a look. And obviously in the case of us investors, we would have submitted a scope of works, so that surveyor will come along and just check that you've done all the works that you've said you were going to do, and just do their due diligence just to make sure that the property is a secure investment for that lender. And they'll also do some sort of desktop study as well, just to look around the property, what's in the area, in the vicinity of the property, and things like that as well. And they'll do some sort of comparative analysis, so they'll look at prices of properties that have sold in the area that are similar to yours, and use those as indicators for their valuation. So if you've done things like you've improved, like what I did with the project that I've recently done, I improved the thermal conductivity of the external wall to the building, so therefore that makes the building more energy efficient. So this, even though I already had an EPC, I had a new one done so that would reflect the new thermal conductivity of the building, and then I handed that to the valuers so that they knew that was part of the scope of work, so that they know that was part of the works that was done. And in turn, things like that will add and boost to the value of the property. So what to expect? Lenders will literally lend you the money based on what the end value price will be. That's going to be dictated in your valuation. So I would be very conservative. Prepare yourself for it being downvalued, because be more conservative with the amount that you think your property is going to fetch, and then you will not be disappointed. And a lot of people say you can challenge that. If you do get a down valuation, you can challenge it, but it's a long process to go through, and it actually involves the valuer actually owning and admitting that they didn't come to the right conclusion in the first place, which it's quite hard to do that. I mean, some people can do that. Obviously, if you've got all your evidence there and you say, you know, these are comparables, that on the other hand is so subjective, it's really, really hard for them to change their minds. But you never know, if you have got all of the evidence there and you presented that to them and say, look, these are some of the in the area, maybe they might just change their minds. So, remortgage valuation tips. So what I can say to you is just make sure that you've done everything that you've said you're going to do in the scope of works. Make sure that you've done it to a really good standard, and just put your heart and soul into it. If you've said you're going to do something, do it. If you say you're going to recover the roof, make sure you've recovered the roof. If you're going to redo the heating, make sure that the heating's looked at. These are the sort of the main things that you need to be looking at. So you just make sure that you get everything done. Like if you're going to do a rewire, make sure the rewire's done, the electrics is all working, and you've got all the certs for that. Make sure the heating's all there. Any energy efficiencies that you've built in, make sure that's highlighted and that they know that that has been done. All things like that can help boost it. And also make sure they come and have a look at the property while it is empty, so it's empty occupation. That is going to help you as well get that higher end value. And I've got more videos to come on the project that I've just done, but obviously if it was unoccupied, I think the valuation would have come back slightly higher. But again, subscribe to see that in more detail. But yeah, make sure if it is unoccupied, so the valuer's going in there with a fresh mindset, there's not a load of stuff hanging around and there's no tenants in there, that's probably the best way to improve and get that higher valuation. And you need to have made sure that you have factored in all your figures from the get-go. Make sure that all your figures, everything all lines up. I've got a project plan, which is, the link is in the description box below, so you can plan out your actual renovation project to make sure that your costs actually come out as you expect them to be, because the lower your costs are, the more of a profit margin you're going to make as an investor. You can use some online house estimators just to try and get a rough price or a rough figure for your end value that you can look to. You can use, there's mouse price that you can use, obviously Zoopla, but just bear in mind that they are online. They've not gone round and had a look at the property or seen the value that you've added to the property, so they may or may not be that as reliable as they could be. You could get an estate agent to come out and value the property as well for you, but obviously bear in mind that their interests are going to be different to yours. Obviously they might have a really, really high figure, a lot higher than what the actual value is going to be looking at, because they're going to be looking at different things. Obviously the estate agent is wanting to get as high a price as possible to make that commission, and then obviously the valuer is on the side of the lender, so they're two completely clashing interests. But yeah guys, those are some rough sort of high level tips. I have another video on down valuations that go into a lot more detail. I'll link that in the end screen for you. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one. How I escaped credit card debt and now invest in properties, and now I'm venturing into stocks. Let's get into it. So hi guys, my name's Sabrina and I am a property investor, and I'm also an architectural designer of 20 plus years, and now I am getting into property investing for myself, and I've been doing that for the past 4 years. So over the past 4 years, I've literally been transforming mainly commercial to residential properties and actually getting into the world of investing for myself. But as I've said, it's not always been like that. And in my early 20s, I will admit I was really bad with money, and my financial planning was close to zero. And I was literally over consuming like no one's business when I got my first sort of full-time job in my really early 20s. And then I got hold of a credit card, and obviously things spiraled, and before I knew it, I was in this debt spiral. And also lifestyle creep also came into play, and my expenses got higher and higher whilst obviously my income stayed the same. And before I knew it, this debt spiral was just getting out of control. And with all of my credit cards, I'd literally just be paying the minimum and not really making a dent on this whole credit card debt that I'd built up. Now, it wasn't a huge amount, but it was also enough to sort of keep me up at night and worry. And let's just say I really wanted to get into property investing for myself. That was the whole reason why I went down the whole architectural sort of route in the first place. And I could see for clients and at work and people that I used to do sort of architectural drawings and drafting for, you can see what they were doing, how they were making the money, and the money that they were making. And that is something that I really wanted to be a part of, but unfortunately my finances really held me back at the time. So I had to literally take a look at myself and just take a step back and then actually make a proper financial plan to get myself out of the hole that I've sort of dug myself into. And guys, this is something that I'm really passionate about, and it's one of the reasons, or the main reason so to speak, why I started this channel, was because I just wanted to help people, or put something out there to help people who maybe didn't have the best finances to start off with, get themselves into a really good place with their finances so that they can make that start, so that they can start to get into investing in properties for themselves. So yeah, I just literally wanted to document my early stages of my property investment journey, not show, not the big massive huge developments, or there's loads of videos there with people that have got multiple properties. My channel's all about getting started and actually getting your foot in the door, and actually getting, all the obstacles that might affect you or stop you or go against you actually getting started in property. And one of those things will be finances. And I'll literally have a whole playlist on my channel just dedicated to improving your credit score, tips and tricks that I use. So I'll go into that in more detail now. And first of all, the main thing what I did was I literally signed up to Experian, or any other credit referencing company, and I just bit the bullet and just took a complete look at my finances and looked at the current state of my credit score, my credit report, and I just ripped the band-aid off and just had a look at what my credit score was, good or bad. And I think in most cases, that is the most scariest part, is just getting your head out of the sand, because you just want to bury your head in the sand and just not think about it. But once you have sort of bit the bullet and had a look at your finances and looked at your credit score as it stands, sometimes in some cases it's a lot better than what you think it is, or there's a way out no matter what. Download your credit score and your credit report so that you can make a realistic and achievable financial plan to slowly get yourself out of the mess if you are in a big mess with your finances. And also, if you sort of look at your bank statements as well, so with that and your bank statements and your credit report, it can start to give you this picture of your financial habits and what is working for you and obviously what isn't working for you. And you can actually check and have a look at your spending habits as well. So then you can start to build up this financial sort of picture of what your spending habits, so what you're spending things on versus your income, for example. And you can build this picture up literally on a regular monthly basis. And as well, guys, I have done a financial plan, a free template. It's a spreadsheet, so you've always got it forever. The link is in the description box below. You can download that if you want that, just to help you out, just to see things, what you want to track, and just to help boost your finances. So once I started to understand exactly what I was spending things on, where my money was actually going, and realised that actually, no, I'm not poor, I just need to stop spending X amount of money on Zara every week, stuff like that. And also a good pointer as well from your bank statements is that you can also see when your direct debits are coming out for each of your bills or your priority bills. So you can make a list of your priority bills and when they're actually coming out, and if the date sort of clashes, or maybe you need to move the date back a bit, you can also look at where you can make those adjustments and speak to the companies so that you can do that, so the money is there to come out when the direct debit is due. So I would say that was the next step that I made, and that's the next step that maybe you should make as well, just making sure that you've got all of your priority bills on direct debit dates that suit you, that just come out. So for example, mine literally come out on the day or the day after I get paid. There's no discussion. As soon as I wake up, I've been paid. My priority direct debits, they go out, so I've got no say in the matter. I don't see the money that already goes out for my bills. And what I then did as well was I checked to see if there was any of the lower sort of credit cards, because I had a couple of credit cards with Capital One which literally only had like a £200-300 limit anyway, so I wasn't able to spend that much in the first place. But because of that, they were a smaller amount, they were almost like a quick win, so I got those ticked off and paid off, and that kind of gave me the boost it was to see, all right, that's been ticked off, so that gave me a boost to then look at the next bill that I needed to pay. So it almost picks you up and it makes you feel good about yourself because you've got something ticked off. And also those smaller credit cards, I made sure that if I did spend on them again, they were literally paid in full each and every week, so the interest didn't accrue, and that again is really good for your credit score. It will just boost that up for you. So this then helped me to look at my literal overall credit card utilization. That is another thing that's the next thing that I kind of worked on, was getting that below 30%, so that again that looks more favorable on your credit report, so that any other potential lenders, they can then see that you are managing the credit that you do have correctly. So obviously the higher credit utilization, that is going to really affect your credit score and lower your credit score. And the loan that I had, I also made a plan for paying that off as well. Again, that's on the template, you can see that, so that you can pay, obviously it gives you the option to pay that monthly payment, but then make an additional payment as well, and see how long it would take with you making those additional payments for that loan to go off. So again, you can plan that and see if you've had a bonus or something, you can make additional payments and see how that would affect your overall payments as well. Or maybe you've had the bonus and you think, right, I'm going to go to the company and say I'm going to request a settlement figure so that you can settle up with the loan, and that again to boost your credit score. So once I literally got this plan into place, and I literally got the first month into it, then another month into it, each and every month, it just gave me the motivation to keep going. Yeah, it was almost like a really good boost, and before I knew it, I was establishing really good financial habits and repairing my credit report. I was also checking my credit report for any errors as well, making sure that I brought that to them if there were any errors, so that they could come off, because obviously that will adversely affect you on your credit score too. And literally before I knew it, all of these positive habits and things that I'd put in, and steps that I'd put into place from this financial plan, it just really helped with it, because it helped establish a history of good credit and good payments that I'd been making. So it just established this really good credit history. Then within about 3 months of establishing this financial plan, I literally was establishing a good credit history, and showing that I was using the credit cards or the credit available to me responsibly, which started to build a solid credit history, which literally shows lenders and future lenders and lenders for the mortgages or the buy-to-let mortgages that I was going to apply for, that I was a lot better and really good with my money. And building a solid credit history just establishes with any future lenders that you are reliable, and it just literally improves your score overall. So then I built up a solid sort of credit history, so it was miles apart from what it was previously to where it was then. And then when I started to go for these buy-to-let mortgages with the view to getting into property investing, I just made sure that I wasn't applying for too much credit around the time of putting in these mortgage applications, because again, that can really spook lenders and make it look like you're literally applying from everywhere because you can't manage your money, which all adds up to great big flashing sirens or red flags to lenders, because it just makes your risk profile, you appear more risky to lenders. And I also built up an emergency fund for any emergencies that might come up in my private life, and this is something that I do for my properties as well. So I've got an emergency pot of money that I'm still building for each of my properties, so if anything goes, for example a boiler goes or something, I've got the money there to pay for it. So I'm still building that up for each of my properties that I've got at the minute, and I'm also built up an emergency fund for myself as well, well. Personally, if I've got anything should go wrong, the money is there for that. Most importantly, I won't be relying on credit to pay for whatever has gone wrong. And guys, again, I am not a financial advisor. Our situations are completely different, so things that might work for me might not work for you depending on your situation, but these are just general tips that I use to help get me out of a bad sort of financial situation into a situation where I can then sort of start investing. And as well as my emergency fund, then I started to have different accounts for different things. So I've got like a fun account, so I've just put money in there so that I can have that available to me, so I can spend, for example, if I go away on holiday or anything, I've got money in there to use. Or a Christmas fund, for example, I've got one of those so that when it comes to Christmas, I've got a bit of money put aside for presents and things, so that's all set aside. So once you've sort of got yourself out of the debt, and then once you've built up your emergency fund, then you can have you can also build up different pots of money to spend for different things, so then it's guilt-free spending. But again, I've got more in-depth videos on this on my channel. This was just sort of my story of what I did to try and help, so that I could get from really worrying about my finances to then being able to invest and get those buy-to-let mortgages. But yeah, guys, it's something that I'm really passionate about. I just want to get my experience out there so it helps somebody so that they can get into investing for themselves as well. And obviously now it's got to a point where I can now reinvest the profits from the property business into stocks and shares as well. So I'm starting to get into that as well. And judging by inflation and how much things cost and AI taking over jobs and all of this, like, it's just something extra that I think we all sort of probably need to help get by. Bridging finance for buy-to-let. What I wish I'd knew before I did my first deal. Hi guys, so after I posted my video on this channel for buy-to-let mortgages, bridging finance, bridge-to-let and all of that, the messages came flooding in, and they still come flooding in till this day. Sabrina, what if I don't qualify for bridging finance or a buy-to-let mortgage? Sabrina, what do I do if I don't qualify for a bridging finance or buy-to-let mortgage straight away? Is bridging finance safe? Will I get stuck with high payments forever? All questions like this. Bridging finance can be a brilliant tool to use, but it can also bite you if you don't know what you're doing. And today I'm walking you through my real life experience using bridging finance to purchase my last buy-to-let project. So bridging finance, if you didn't know before, literally it is a short-term loan to bridge the gap between, so that you can purchase a property and then obviously exit and move on to a mortgage. You can also get a bridge to let as well, which I did on my first project. That's all documented here on this YouTube channel as well. And within that is basically literally like having it's a bridge loan, and then you move on to a buy-to-let mortgage with the same lender. So it's almost like a two-tier mortgage funding. So step one would be a bridge loan, and step two would be your buy-to-let mortgage. So it literally incorporates both the types of funding into one. So bridging finance, it's fast, it's flexible, but guys, it can be really expensive if you don't exit properly and you don't exit quickly enough. And again, guys, I am not a financial advisor. This is just me letting you know my personal experiences. So your experience might be different to mine due to us having different situations, different circumstances, for example. And speaking of financial advisors, you can literally use Unbiased. They are literally like a matchmaking services for your finances. So they will literally look at your finances and then match you up with a financial advisor that is perfect for you. You can get their first consultation for free. The link is in the description box below. And guys, for everyone who does sign up, I do make a small commission, so thank you. So guys, you can use Unbiased if you are wanting to get into property but you are worried about your financial situation. So guys, my first time using it, I used a bridge to let on my first venture, and that was buying the flat. Again, that is on this YouTube channel. And then on my next project, I literally used a bridge loan and then exited onto a buy-to-let mortgage, and I used that for my commercial to residential project. So the reason why I used a bridge to let and bridge loans for each of these projects was to make that initial purchase. Both the properties that I was going to buy were in dire need, and it was a little bit of a struggle to get them straight onto a buy-to-let because the properties in both cases were not ready to go out of the gate. As soon as they were purchased, they weren't ready to rent out. They weren't in a rentable position, basically. So that is why I say it's really great to use a bridge loan. So if you have a property that is deemed by most lenders unmortgageable to go straight onto a buy-to-let mortgage, you can use that as a way to bridge the gap, add value by modernising, changing, renovating the property, and then moving moving on to a buy-to-let mortgage. So in both cases, I purchased properties, as I've just said, that were in dire need of modernisation, renovation, and they couldn't just be let straight out. So I used the bridge loan on the bridge to let to initially make that initial purchase, did the properties up, and in each of the cases then exited onto a buy-to-let mortgage. And in doing that, I remortgaged it at a higher end value because I increased the value of the property by adding value, by doing the renovations work, and then I was able to remortgage it at a higher rate and pull some of my money back out. Which, yeah, guys, sounds smooth on paper, doesn't it? But I'll tell you from now, the devil is in the detail. And if you see the playlist, the videos on each of these projects, you can see that it wasn't all smooth sailing. So the pain points and the problems, the main thing here, and this is crucial in this current climate, is that valuations, when you get to the valuations, these can really mess you up. Even if you've got the best laid plans in the world, you've set everything out. And by the way, guys, there is a link to a project plan in the description box below that can help you. It's a spreadsheet that I've done, and it can help you sort of set out and plan your project. So you can plan your renovations, it gives you a specification section. You can plan out all of your specifications, you can plan out your costs, you can plan out quite a lot of things, your program and everything, and this will help you when it comes to the valuation part. It will help sort of mitigate against any risks, because I've also got a risk register in there as well. Those are for any items that could potentially happen that you don't know that are going to happen, but you've costed for it and you've allowed for that, and you've got an estimate of that within your costs. So if it does happen, you've got the money allocated for it. If it doesn't happen, happy days, you can take that money back out, and that can add to your profit at the end. But yeah, I've got videos on this YouTube that you can watch in more depth than that. But yes, and this happened to me on the last renovation that we did, when obviously interest rates, they're still sort of up and down at the minute, but they were really volatile at the time. It was when Liz Truss sort of announced her budget and everything, all hell broke loose. So the original valuation for that project, that commercial project that I did, when the valuers were quite spooked by the market being so volatile, so they were being really conservative with their valuations, and I still think they're slightly doing that today. My mortgage advisor still tells me that, you know, lenders are still quite twitchy about things, so valuers are still quite being really super conservative and undervaluing properties. Again, if you want to speak to my personal mortgage advisor, her details are in the description box below for some advice. But yeah, needless to say, my initial valuations, which was all perfect at the time, we were going to go for these valuations so that we could go on to a buy-to-let with a new mortgage advisor once I had added the value and done the renovation. Every single time we went for that, the valuers kept undervaluing because they were spooked by the market, until we got a decent valuation. So that can be a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, we went to lender valuation a few times, and each and every time they kept coming back with a really low valuation, which scuppered the chance of doing a refinance, which again in turn kept me within on that bridge loan, and my time for needing to sort of come out of the deal, the exit date, the bridge and finance lender was getting closer and closer, and also prolonging the amount of time that I had to pay the monthly fees as well. So it can be really costly if that happens. If it does happen, you know, you're not alone in that. It happened on my last one. All you can do is just keep going through the process and until it works out for you. So undervaluations can really scupper you and mess you up. So make sure that you really do everything within your power to mitigate against that. Make sure you plan out your project as well as you possibly can. You've factored in for any potential risks as much as you can, and your figures are based on the lower end of the assumptions, so that you've covered yourself for worst case scenarios coming true. And guys, that leads me on to my next point, and that's extension clauses. Make sure that you've read everything that's on that, because the worst was to happen and you do go beyond that date and you've not extended that extension period or anything like that, the fees can really kill you. It was literally really close to that agreed date that we'd set for the renovation and to have moved on to a buy-to-let, and if that had happened, that was going to cost me quite a lot of money on extension fees. And as well as the extension fee, they can also charge you added interest rates as well. So keep an eye on the small print, have a look at that, and make sure that you've costed yourself well enough and you've planned out your program, you've given yourself enough time. If you've said you need 12 months, say, just for the rule of thumb, just put down that you need 18 months, just so that you've got that extra bit of wiggle room. Now, the next point is that legal costs are no joke. And especially if you are purchasing as a limited company, there can be extra added costs involved in it. And also if you are doing the bridge to let finance, it's almost like, because it's 2-stage, it's almost like you've got 2 sets of legal fees to cover for each stage. Obviously they'll work out a deal, they'll give you that so that it's reduced for you. They'll give you a personalised quote for that process. But to me personally, it feels almost as if you're paying 2 sets of fees. And you've also got to make sure you remember the independent legal advice. Again, that is if you are purchasing in a limited company. That can almost seem like a waste of time, because if you're purchasing as a limited company, you've also almost got to see yourself as the third person. It's you, your company, and you know it's that kind of thing that you're looking at. You're almost lending money to your company so that you can purchase a property. So you've got to see yourself as the third person almost. But yeah, if it's anything like me, you'll have to have your independent legal advice session with an independent solicitor that you are originally dealing with, depending on what sort of situation you've got going off. But in my experience, I've had to have a totally independent solicitor that I've used. They've not been able to incorporate it together. It's not too bad. I think I paid about $270 plus VAT for the last time, and you literally go in and they just run through and just make sure that you know exactly what you're entering into, and they run through the offer and everything with you, and then you sign it off separately to your company. And they'll go through everything with you. Again, I'm not an advisor, I'm just telling you this is what I've had in my experience. Drop in the comments below your experience as well. So you'd have almost like a legal set of minutes of the meeting, the agenda and everything, and you'd go through everything with that independent solicitor. Again, I've got more in-depth videos on this on the channel already. And again, guys, your exit strategy, make sure you've got an exit strategy, not an exit fantasy. When I was exiting at the time, I couldn't foresee anything else in what was going to happen, and I didn't expect Liz Truss and everything to do what they did and for the market to react the way it did. I don't think anyone could have predicted that, but it just goes to show that you get delays. Things that are beyond your reach, beyond your foresight can happen, and it can cause delays. So just make sure you bear that in mind and you plan as much as you can. More delays is going to equal more interest, more cost, more fees. That is what is going to eat away at your profit. So guys, top tips from me. I would say make sure you've got your exit strategy nailed. This is why I kind of really preferred the bridge to let process, because you do everything. You get your bridge and finance, and then you move on to your buy to let portion of the mortgage, all with one lender. So from the get-go, you know what your exit strategy is, so it gives you that certainty. You've just got to make sure that you plan everything right and you give yourself enough time for the actual project, and that is what I want to be heading towards moving forward. So yeah, if you can get a bridge to let, I really highly would recommend getting a bridge to let over just getting the bridge and finance, because as I said, it gives you that certainty, takes the stress away. And with the way things go sometimes, I mean, it's calmed down a little bit more now. It was up and down for the last few years with interest rates, which was making everyone jittery within the market, which, as I've said earlier on in the video, it made the valuers really conservative and really low and undervalue so many projects. My next tip, guys, do not borrow to your limit. As I've said before, just so you can have that buffer, make sure when you're doing your project and you've listed everything down, as well as having your contingency for the project, you've also analysed and looked at your risk, and you've got a costed risk register. Again, there's videos on this channel as well to describe what I mean by a risk register and how to approach that. Check those out and they'll help you. Another tip is that you could choose a lender that uses like a retained or a rolled up interest, so that you're not making the monthly payments as you go along, but just at the end when you come to remortgage or refinance. That's a tip. So then you're saving that monthly cash flow for later on down the line. That's if that's going to help you. Again, make sure you research this and look into it and make sure that it's right for you and your circumstances. And my next tip is to use a really good mortgage broker. Again, my mortgage broker's details are in the description box below. You need someone that knows your circumstances well and specializes in whatever your circumstances are. For example, me buying in a limited company, my mortgage advisor's got loads of experience in that, and a lot of people will do now, but she's really great with that. So she knows me, she knows what I like and my finances and things like that, so she can give me a deal that really works well for me, not just looking to get a kickback from the lender. Yeah, you need to really make sure that you do your research and you have a really really good mortgage advisor fighting for you in your corner. So guys, bridging finance, it can be really good. It can unlock deals that other people might shy away from because of the limitation on lending. So it can be a really, really good tool for you. But just remember, it is literally a ticking time bomb. It is a ticking countdown clock. And use it wisely as a stepping stone for your next buy-to-let. And use recklessly, it's a one-way ticket to Stressville. And guys, if you've got a bridging finance horror story, pop it down in the comments below so that we can all learn from it. The top lending options for new property investors. Financing explained, or at least the top 3 lending options that I continuously get DMs about on a regular basis. Because I always get asked about these 3 lending options, I decided, you know what, let's sit down with the camera, we'll put a quick sort of recap, my personal thoughts on each of those 3 lending options and pop it in this quick video for you guys. So if you're wanting to get into property investing, things with property, buy-to-let or anything like that with your own cash, you're going to want to watch this video and you're going to want to watch till the end as well, because I'm going to tell you about my favourite option and there are some great reasons why it's my favourite as well. And judging by recent events, it's going to be the option that I'm really going to be opting for and wanting to use moving forward. But there'll be more on that in future videos as well. I know from personal experience that property investing can almost be like a roller coaster, especially when it comes to choosing the right lending product for you. And that's even more so if you are new to property or new to investing. I know I felt quite intimidated by it as well, so hence why I'm doing this video. So first up is the traditional buy-to-let mortgage. Think of this almost as the golden retriever of lending options. It's reliable, it's long-term, and it's pretty straightforward. So if you are thinking of doing a vanilla buy-to-let, if it stacks up for you, or whether you're thinking of living in the properties, then a straightforward mortgage is probably going to be the way to go. You can get stable monthly payments. The interest rates, give or take, can be fairly, and I know interest rates aren't what they were maybe 2-3 years ago, but you can get pretty decent interest rates when compared to other higher rate sort of lending options. And that's especially if you have a really good credit score. So if you find yourself a really good mortgage advisor, again, my mortgage advisor's details are in the description box below. You can get some good advice from them, and that usually is a great way to go. However, with a mortgage, again, like I say, you have got to have a really good credit score. So if your credit score isn't the best, you're obviously not going to get the best rates. Also as well, if your strategy is to add value, if you do look and find a property that you want to do this a buy-to-let strategy on and add value to it by fixing it up, for example, if the property isn't in a rentable or livable condition, then the lenders might not lend against it. And so if your strategy is like mine, then this option might not be the best option to start out with straight away, because as I said, if the property isn't a livable property, then 9 times out of 10 the lender will not lend on it. Also, if you're looking at purchasing a property that's got non-standard construction, again, that'll be another reason for the lenders to not lend on that. For example, I did look at a property that I really wanted to bid on and put an offer in on, but however, the property, it had everything else going for it. It was right near a really good park here in Nottingham. It needed fixing up as well, so therefore it needed a bit of TLC doing to it, so there was a chance and an opportunity there to add value and create value within the property. However, it had a flat roof. So with it having a flat roof, then that was going to really narrow down my lending options when I was ready to move on to the buy-to-let option, because that's considered a non-standard construction. And with other things that have happened, I really did not want to take the risk, so actually I didn't put in an offer on that property because of that reason. And in these sort of uncertain economic times as well, that could be a reason for a lender not to lend on property. And by the way, my name's Sabrina and I am documenting my whole property journey here on YouTube. I do have some more videos that go into this in much more detail that are on my channel on the playlist, so check those out and maybe think about subscribing as well if you want to hear more. So another thing with a standard mortgage is that it does require a lot of patience, a lot of time and a lot of paperwork. I think all lending options require that, but it's even more so with a standard mortgage, as most of you will probably know. So it's not the quickest route if you want to sort of jump from situation to situation. It's not the quickest route to go down because it takes so long to set up, especially here in the UK. It's a long process which you do have to go through with the professionals, obviously with your mortgage advisor who will find you a good deal in the first place, with your solicitor who will do all your conveyancing and everything like that for you, and literally help with the transfer of money, deposit and everything like that. And obviously you've got to also with estate agents and things like that too. So it is a long process. All the lending options are a long process, but it's more so with a mortgage than anything. But on the other side, this is the product that I do like to exit onto, because then, you know, for that set period of time, whether it be 2 years or 5 years or whatever, if you fixed in, you can fix in on a great or a good rate at the time, and you know you've got that certainty for that period of time you will be paying that each and every month. So that, for peace of mind, is a great option. So the mortgage is great for you to exit onto once you've added value, and if you want to keep the property and you're not doing a flip and you want to be a landlord and get that residual monthly rental income. So especially in these uncertain economic times, for example, like what happened last year with Liz Truss, it's good to have that knowledge and that peace of mind that you've got the set monthly payments that you will be making, and that you know that it's not going to go up and down or whatever. You're making those fixed monthly payments. It can help you budget and things in your own life. So next, let's have a quick chat about bridge loans. So bridge loans are really flexible, and they literally allow you to swing from one financial situation to another. Bridge loans tend to be, they're pretty short term. I mean, I tend to look at either 6 months or 12 months, but they are high interest, but they will allow you to purchase a property quickly. Like I said before, when I say quickly, I mean quicker than a standard mortgage, because they are a little bit more flexible, but they still involve the same process as you would do if you were going for a mortgage. So it still involves getting a solicitor, it still involves getting your mortgage advisor involved to find you the best deal. It still involves all of the paperwork and things like that, but they are genuinely more flexible than a standard mortgage. And they are perfect if you are operating in a more competitive market within the property market, because it allows you to purchase more quicker. So it's perfect if you are operating within a competitive property market, which, let's face it, that's what we're working with now. And the fact that they are a lot more flexible is a great reason why I like to use them, because as I said before, my strategy is to add value. So and with them not being as strict and as stringent as a standard buy-to-let mortgage, it will allow me to purchase a property that might not be in a lettable condition, as we've discussed earlier with mortgages. So you can literally purchase a property that is in not great condition, it's run down or whatever, if there's issues with it, even as we talked about before, if it's got non-standard construction, things like that, you can purchase a property by using a bridge loan and then add the value later, and then ultimately exit from that bridge loan onto a mortgage. Now, the great thing about doing that as well also is that it allows you to test the market. So it gives you time to, whilst you're doing up the property, once you make that initial purchase of that on the bridge loan, it then allows you to sort of test the market and see the rates, and while you're actually running the project, to then get the best rates for a buy-to-let mortgage at the property's new sort of higher value price later on. But it allows you to test the market in that sense and then get a rate that is great for that market. And I'll explain that point a little bit more when I go on to the next lending option, which, as I said before, is my favourite option. So that may or may not be clear, but once we go on to the next option, I will go into more detail on that. Let's have a look at some of the downsides. So some of the downsides with it is really pricey. You do not enter into a bridge loan with a faint heart. You need to know your exit strategy and know where you're going to be going after you come from this loan amount, because if you go over the date that you've agreed to pay the loan off by, you can be hit by some really, really high charges. So you need to make sure that you know your exit strategy inside and outside, that you've had expert advice, you've gone to your mortgage advisor, you've already warmed them up, they're already looking for rates well in advance of when you need to have paid this loan off by. You've got all the advice that you need from that. You've looked at it from every single angle, and you've got some sort of risk register in place, or you've got some sort of risk strategy in place. So if you've looked at everything that could go wrong, and you've got a plan for each and every thing that you think that could have gone wrong with it. So yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted at all. Yeah, they can be really pricey, guys, and with the fees and things that you need to pay back, it needs to be paid off fairly quickly. A bridge is literally what it says. It's there to bridge the gap for you to jump onto and then jump off through via a different exit strategy. So it's a really, really quick way of getting the funding together to purchase a property, but you need to get off it really quickly. They are designed to be paid back really quickly. So yeah, make sure you seek expert advice before you go onto a bridge loan. You know that you've covered every angle as to if anything does go wrong or what could go wrong. You've covered every angle and you're prepared for that. And make sure you give yourself enough time to do the actual project and enough time to exit off it as well. So what I tend to do is I always like to factor in for a longer time than what I think's actually needed. So what I'll do is I'll look through, and when I'm preparing for at the very beginning, when I'm looking at a property to purchase, I make sure that I've planned the actual project out. So I've got a project plan, and again, you can get the template for this, guys. It's in the description box below. I know what it's going to take to refurbish the property, and more importantly, how long it's going to take, and then I add on time as a contingency as well. So for example, if I think it's going to take me 6 months, I will add a little bit on and probably go for the 12 months, so that I've got that bit of cushioning to get to move on and exit the bridge loan. And doing that, it might add to your costs, but that is a cost that I'm willing to take, because the alternative, if you run out of time and you run over, is a lot worse, because you will get a lot of a higher fee, so it will end up costing you more in the long run. So make sure that you factor in your time for when you're going to be doing the project, and it's a realistic scope of works. You realistically know exactly what you're going to be doing to add value, refurbish, modernise, or whatever the plan is with the property, and you give yourself that extra amount of time so that you're not under the gun the whole time when you're doing the project, especially when you're starting out, guys. And guys, if you want to get a bit more professional advice on bridge loans, you can always use Unbiased. The link is in the description box below. You can get your first consultation free of charge, and they will literally match you up with either a mortgage advisor, a financial advisor, or whatever you need regarding your finances. So that's Unbiased. The link is in the description box below. And for everyone who does sign up, I do make a small commission. And the last option that I'm going to just quickly go over in today's video is a bridge to let. And this is by far my favorite lending option, because it's almost like a mix and match of both worlds. It's almost like a love child between a bridge loan and a mortgage, because you have the speed and flexibility of a bridge loan, which is going to enable you to move fast still, but you also have the certainty of a mortgage with the rates and everything that you're going to be exiting onto. So you have that exit plan built in from the beginning, and that is why I love that, especially with what's happening at the minute. It's that certainty. So for the first project that I've popped on here, that's the Woollerton flat, I actually used a bridge to let, and looking back on that, it was the best thing I could have done, because when I first looked at this property, it was really competitive. I bidded on the property, or put in an offer on the property, and at first it was rejected. Then that sale fell through, so then the estate agent called me back, so I had to move really quickly. So it allowed me to quickly get the funds together so that I could have that initial bridge loan. And also the property was trashed, guys. If you have a look back on the playlist of us fixing it up, the property was in a dire need. It wasn't in a livable condition, so it was the best thing getting the bridge loan for that initial purchase. However, the only downside was that I was a little bit under the gun trying to do the property up. So this is why I always say give yourself enough time to actually do the initial project. However, I would take that pressure any day. That is better than what is happening at the minute. Once obviously we'd done the project, so that was the first phase, was that initial bridge loan, getting that, and then doing the project up, and then there was a date that we agreed that I would get the project completed by, and then we would go on to the second stage, which would be the buy-to-let portion. And when I tell you, the transition was so much more simple than what I'm having to do at the minute. I don't think I appreciated it at the time, but it was such a smooth transition. I had that certainty that bam, right, I'm going on to this rate, and it went through, and you've got that certainty of knowing that you've got that buy-to-let portion for the next 5 years, that you've got that rate locked in. And it was during the time of Liz Truss, when she came into power, and things went bottom up with market certainty. Like, you guys all know that what it was like then. It was just up and down, up and down. We're still seeing that now. It's still not sort of settled, I don't personally think, at the minute. But knowing and having that certainty that you were going straight onto that buy-to-let was brilliant. I've got a playlist showing the good, the bad, and the ugly from bridge to let, so you'll see it goes into a lot more detail of the advantages and disadvantages of what I'm going on this video. And as I said earlier on in the video, the other thing with it, the other downside would be that I wasn't able to sort of test the market with the buy-to-let rates when I went straight onto that buy-to-let portion. But to be honest with you, that was a good thing, because at the time the interest rates just went crazy, didn't they, for anything? They just went mad at that time. So it was a good thing knowing that I had that rate locked in because it was already pre-agreed. The only other thing as well is that it's the amount of fees that you've got to pay. I mean, you've got to pay fees when you're going through this process in the UK anyway, but it was almost like paying twice. So you had to have independent legal advice. I had to have obviously the standard sort of solicitor's fees and everything with that as well. And also I'm purchasing in a company name as well. So there was also fees in association with that as well. But again, I'll go into more detail in a dedicated video that I've done. I'll link that as well for you to watch. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.